Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the day 3 and I guess day 4 also recap of what's been going on with my progress in Leagues 4. Sorry this one's coming out a little bit late. It's not because I didn't want to make a video. I just actually have been basically playing nonstop since the last video came out. I think we had like 40 hours of stream basically, so haven't had time really to stop and actually talk about what's been going on, making a formal video. And yeah, there has been quite a lot of progress. So last time where we left off, we had 6 relic tiers unlocked, and in addition, we had finally unlocked all 3 regions, including Asgarnia, which had solved a lot of problems for us. In particular, you can see here that I am working on solving my prayer potion situation because I was really struggling with how limited I was on prayer potions. And by the way, there's just going to be footage from the last like 2 days of stream in the back while I just talk about a little bit about what's been going on, just so you guys can see it. So with the farming relic and with, the ability to pick up snake grass, we can make as many prayer potions as we wanted. And this was like, now I can start doing PVM. I could go kill bosses. I could do Slayer a lot easier because I don't have to like constantly go back to the monastery to recharge my prayer potions. It just made everything way easier. And as much fun as it was fighting the fight caves with like 3 prayer potions, this is just like, this is exactly what I needed to really start sinking into Slayer in particular. So why is Slayer important? Why am I doing basically every single task from Steel Dragons to Blood Velds to Fire Giants, trying to get my Slayer level up? Well, it's because I realized that if I'm going to do some PVM, I need a weapon of choice. And unfortunately, ancient magics, while they are very powerful, there's a delay when you're moving. So when you move, there's going to be a 1-tick delay before you start auto casting, and then you basically turn into like a mini turret that just can shoot and fire, right? But it takes you that extra tick to set up. And while this is great for any kind of boss where you could just stand still and cast, I very quickly realized that after fighting Leviathan a couple times and running into a couple issues there, I realized that I'm going to need some ability to move and attack without losing my damage, right? And the most obvious solution here is, of course, the Trident, right? The Trident is a very powerful staff, and although a lot of people are saying that ancient magics are better than it, I did a little bit of DPS calculations myself and found that it's very marginal. And in fact, Trident does get better if you get like an imbued heart or something like that. You do start to really put out damage with it. So I started to get really nervous, and I was like, okay, we got 83 Slayer right now. I think we started the day off at like 82, and I was like, okay, let's make the stream super boring and let's just focus on knocking out Slayer as much as we can. But yeah, I basically put points and tasks and all of that completely on the back burner because I was really concerned that if I don't do Slayer now, some of the more competitive spots, such as Dust Devils, are just going to get very crowded. And the sooner I can get that Trident, the sooner I can unlock Kraken, which was 87 Slayer, then I can really just start doing a huge variety of different tasks. And in addition to that, I also wanted to save up enough Slayer points so that we could start getting skips, so we could start skipping tasks, right? With 5 times the points, you're getting 75 points per task, which means that with a collection of like 300, for example, I could skip 10 tasks and just start trying to get specifically the tasks I want, which would be like Dust Devils, Kraken, things like that. So we started doing a whole bunch of different tasks, including we even started doing like fight caves to kill Jad, which was a lot of fun actually, to go ahead and do this just as a Slayer task for fun using blood spells. It was a lot easier this time now that I had prayer potions. And Jad gives a lot of Slayer experience. So yeah, I was having quite a lot of fun just grinding out Slayer tasks, completely ignoring doing any of the leagues like. And I didn't even like think about relics at this point. It was all Slayer. Unfortunately, even when I got 87 Slayer, I was still having trouble actually getting the Krakens. So I had to just I had to do a lot today. I had to do so many tasks. You can see that Dust Devils they're just the most broken, but these guys are going to be super competitive. There is a multi-combat spot in the desert, but like, man, you gotta get here fast, guys, because I feel like this place is going to be just crowded in the next coming days. Ultimately, though, the goal with the Trident was to actually start doing the rest of the PVM in the game. So I was basically just like committed to only doing good tasks, skipping all the bad ones, and then once I get the Kraken, then the game really shifts, and we can start doing a lot more fun stuff. Also, with some of these tasks, I really started to actually finally get money. So, my money situations were starting to look a little bit better with like Dust Devils. That they drop a lot of like alchable items, battle stabs, things like that. So, things are finally starting to look up for me in the land of being broke. I was, at the very least, I was getting some income to pay for like the stupid amount of runes that I was spending on ancient magic. So I was ice barraging everything, and I was just tearing through my cash stack. Okay, and finally, with 87 Slayer, we finally did get a Kraken task. I was really excited for this, and I actually went to go kill the small ones. The small ones have a much higher chance of dropping the Trident, and even though I had an extended task and a slaughter, I wanted to kill the small ones specifically so I could get myself a Trident and guarantee that I get one, because obviously, if I kill the big guy and I don't get one, that would feel really bad. In fact, we actually got two, so that was kind of cool. In addition, I mean, I was also getting tons of Alex, like just so much money from Krakens. This task is absolutely amazing. But there's also a really big reason why I wanted to unlock Kraken, and that's the Kraken boss. Now, a lot of people like to, shit on the Kraken. Now, a lot of people were saying that the Kraken is like a super boring boss, and they're right. It is really damn boring. But first off, there's a lot of achievements associated with the Kraken. You can do a lot of combat achievements from them, a lot of regular tasks as well. But the Kraken gives a lot of runes, which I needed because I was really poor on runes. In fact, I was actually getting more runes than I was losing by killing the Kraken. And on top of that, they also have a number of like really useful drops. In particular, they had an oak plank drop that I've been using to train my construction on. And with blood spells, I could basically just sit here and do the Kraken all day. I think we did 100 Kraken all in one sitting, which was really nice and easy. And this is also an instanced area. This is a Slayer boss in its own instance area that you pay like 25,000 to unlock. So I had no competition either, which was so much better compared to all the Slayer I had been doing earlier, which was so competitive. I'm always fighting with other people. Now this is my very own room. I can sit here. I can just slam the Kraken all day as long as I want. And yeah, we slammed Kraken like all day basically. I think I got like over 300 Krakens. But yeah, we did quite a lot of Kraken. And with a Trident in our hands, I felt like there was really only one more thing to do for day 3, a nice finale, and that was, of course, Tombs of Amascut. I had been talking about this forever. It's the whole reason why I decided to do leagues in the first. Well, really, I was going to do leagues, but this is why I decided this whole route. It was all based around I wanted to go into Tombs of Amascut and just completely slam it with all the new relics. So we began a really long, not really long, but it was a pretty decent quest grind going through the desert, getting Beneath Cursed Sands done, which included Prince Ali rescue and contact, and otherwise just setting ourselves up for Tombs of Amascut. A lot of people were telling me that like you can't fight these bosses with magic, but we kind of just brute forced it anyways. I didn't want to really go and get my other styles like to the point where I felt like it was necessary, so I basically just brute forced all the fights. And this has been one of the things you'll see is that Banker's Note has really been allowing me to brute force a lot of combat that I shouldn't really be able to do, just because I'm bringing an entire fridge of sharks, an entire mini bar of prayer potions with me to every single fight. This is why having all those prayer potions from earlier, all those sharks fished up from Endless Harvest has just been such an amazing part of leagues for me, because I can bring it all with me to every single fight that I'm doing, and it really just it kind of opens up a lot of early game options that I normally would need better stats to do or a specific combat style to do, but I can just do it anyways because I have all the food in the world. I can make mistakes, I can just tank damage if I want to and just eat through it. And now the very final piece was just getting something for my other combat styles. And honestly, I went as low budget as I could. I basically got green dragon hide and a rune crossbow with broad bolts as like my range setup. And for my melee, it was like a dragon scimitar, and that's it. It's like dragon boots or something. So with all of that ready to go, I basically took on what I thought would be the best 150 invocation levels, stocked up on all the supplies I could need, and I give myself unlimited time, unlimited health just in case. And we went into Tombs on day 3 that evening. We went into our very first Tombs of Amascut, ready to go, trident in hand, and I was just so excited. The back went exactly as I expected. It would take, it would be a little bit slow because our accuracy was a little bit weak, but for the most part, we would just be barraging this monster down. I think eventually I realized the trident would be slightly better just because it allows me to move a little bit more and it has a it seems like it had a bit more accuracy, but either way, this boss, totally fine to do with magic, although, very hard to hit at times. There's not really a lot of like damage incoming that you can't dodge. And that's kind of the name of the game here, is what kind of damage is avoidable, what damage is unavoidable. And with Zabak, because it's mostly avoidable, we could just boss early. We don't need any salts or anything like that. And it's just kind of a free training dummy, really. It's not very hard. Next up, I took on Kefri, and again, this is why the Trident is so nice, because I can move while actually dodging, the like projectile attack. And I'm not gonna lie, the Trident was absolutely cooking this monster. Kefri was getting destroyed by it. I was really, really impressed, and definitely worth getting just for this alone. Yeah, for the most part though, not really too many issues with Kefri. The like the little clump of scarabs you get also make it really easy to clean up with either your AoE from the magic one, or I would just switch to a blood barrage and just get some more steal some health through that. But with so much sharks, so much prayer potions, it really feels like a lot of these there's just not a lot of like worries. There's so much I can kind of get away with doing by just eating through all the mistakes I make, or any kind of extra damage I take, and instead just focusing on trying to do as much damage as I can and just get through the bosses, because we're just trying to get through the bosses right now. Now, for Baba, this is something I've been really looking forward to. I was a little worried about it, but basically the idea here was that with just our rune crossbow, we should be able to get through the boulders. And what we can actually go ahead and do is, once we get to the top floor, just attack Baba with magic instead. The thing is that when Baba is throwing rocks, you'll actually be able to use magic spells and do damage. However, Baba only stops throwing rocks after a fixed amount of time, or if you, wake her up with a melee attack. But instead, what we could do is we could just sit here in this corner and basically just get free damage and just milk as much damage out of this phase as possible. I think we have her down to 46% before she even does anything. So this is I was really excited to use magic specifically for this reason. In fact, I'm a little bit worried about when I start getting even more damage, how that's gonna look if I'm able to push her into like the next rock phase before she's even done throwing rocks. I'm very worried about actually just getting tossed into rocks themselves. Akka was the one I dreaded the most, because we did have to deal with his like enrage phase, and this is melee only. You have to fight it with melee. And all I had here was like a dragon scimitar. So while it did sometimes get some hits, there was also a lot of times where I was just splashing over and over and over again, desperately trying to dodge the balls. And luckily, again, I had the entire fridge of sharks with me to make for any mistakes. But this was still really, really stressful, and I felt like I had to focus here more than I've had to, like, for the entire leagues, just constantly trying to dodge any balls. Every time I ate, that also puts me on a delay, so I'm losing, damage and stuff like that. And it was like, this felt like I was like a gambling addict, just praying to get some hits, because these zeros were hurting real bad every time they hit. All right, and finally, the Wardens. I was pretty confident on this. I knew I could do it even with Insanity on. And the 2-tick Trident here was just the MVP. Luckily, you do get supplies from the raids, so if I ever took any damage, I always just was like, let's play safe, let's heal back up, and instead, let's just focus on doing the mechanics properly, slowly, getting all our damage out. And honestly, it wasn't that slow. The Trident was really doing work here, way more accurate than I thought it would be. My magic level was up to like 125 at this point, so with smelling salts, this boss was a lot easier than I thought it would be. And we're just putting out consistent amounts of damage. Any damage that we take is just healed back up pretty easily through our food supplies and stuff like that. So well, not also just the supplies that the raid gives you at this point. So yeah, I was just not worried at all about Wardens. There's only one phase where you have to do some range, and even that was just slow, but not really an issue. And so first Tombs of a Mascot completed on day 3, and I was really, really happy about that. And unfortunately, not a purple on our very first raid, but we did get some very nice drops in the second chest. We got the blue scarab, or like the blue gem for the Karis Partisan. I think this one is actually good against Calphites, so I've been planning on using it to kill Calphites to like get my melee stats going. And I wrapped up day 3 with yet another Tombs of the Master completed, and this time, again, no purple, but we did get the Divine Rune Pouch, which I was really excited about. This is actually going to let me hold 6 runes in my rune pouch, which is just crazy. I mean that's crazy. That's law runes, blood runes, chaos runes, death runes, water runes. I'm probably missing something, but yeah, we soul runes. We get everything in that rune pouch for like our whole like starter kit for ancient spellbook. It was really awesome to have. And honestly, I would say that that's it, but I couldn't go to bed. I think I literally sat. I took like a nice shower. I sat in bed for like 30 minutes, but I was so excited that I had tombs unlocked that like 30 minutes after I ended that stream, I just went back right into it, and I was like, all right, we're going back. And this is day 4 now, right? And day 4 we're attacking tasks. I realized that there was, even though I could do Tombs of Massaket, there was a lot of other stuff that I wanted to get done before I was really ready to go to start grinding it out, to start getting some of the bigger drops. In particular, I wanted to get my next relic unlocked, which I knew would increase my damage quite substantially. And it would also give me a 16 times multiplier for all experience I get, which is just, I mean, that's incredible. 16 times multiplier. So we started off that day with a very, very focused mindset of like, we're just going to be doing tasks all day today. We're not going to do no distractions. And that's why I even started off like pickpocketing, because I'm sure the trickster, everybody who took trickster is kind of laughing at me here, but I needed to get my thieving up, so I had to go do some blackjacking over in Paladin Beach, which was quite miserable, but you know what? The experience rates were really good, and we got a lot of tasks done by finally getting our thieving up to like 81. Of course, I would be a complete liar and about an hour later go do Tombs of Massaket for fun, which didn't give us any drops. But you know what? That's part of leagues, is saying that you're going to be committed and then an hour later going and doing some fun stuff anyways. But this is the last thing we did. I promise you guys, we were focused on tasks for the rest of the day. The mining guild became one of my favorite ways to train mining and smithing. You can see that these iron rocks spawn incredibly fast, just the same speed as my Trailblazer pickaxe. So we're just getting tons of steel bars added to the bank, literally hundreds and hundreds of them, while just training all of our stats up. And we're going to be using those steel bars later for fletching, like steel darts to make to get our fletching up. Or we could use them for like cannonballs. That's what I've been thinking about. Luckily, my setup of KDA actually gives me access not only to the dwarf cannon, because I have Candor and Ascarnia, but I also get access to the desert, so I get the double ammo mold from the Giant's Foundry. So I've been kind of playing around with the idea of just making cannonballs and using that to train my range as well. And I know a lot of people said like, oh, well, you just use Banker's Note instead of Endless Harvest. I would not recommend doing this with Banker's Note. It's a way more, I mean, you can, but let's be real, it's a way more brain off with just Endless Harvest. Click, click, click. And you're getting all of the mining and all of the smithing you need at an unbelievably fast rate. Now, one of the most fun sources of actually going and getting points was I wanted to go do God Wars Dungeon. I had Ascarnia unlocked, and there's a lot of points tied behind doing some of the God Wars dungeons, as well as getting some of their bosses. So we spent quite a bit of time, and we basically developed strats on how we can actually do these bosses using Trident for movement, and then using the Ancient Staff as kind of like our mini turret damage weapon source. And it also allowed us to freeze certain bosses. I developed this really cool strategy. It took me a couple hours actually, or not like a couple hours, but it took me a bit of time to perfect, where basically I could kind of clump up all of the mobs very, very nicely. You can see we're getting this nice triple stack here with our Ice Barrage, freezing them all in place. We're taking basically no damage at all here. And this is part of like what makes League so fun, is developing these like weird strats that don't really work. And you can see in this one, we actually got Bandos Tacets at 14 kills, which is another task to actually equip a piece of gear. So yeah, we were just getting tons and tons of points going and doing all the bosses. Okay, and at this point, I had to take like a 3-hour nap because I was absolutely exhausted. I'd been doing God Wars and Kraken and Slayer for like 30 hours at this point. So I went to go take a nap. And we started, I guess, the second part of day 4 off with another grind because I was getting really, really close to tier 7. And I figured, okay, well, we're 500 points away from tier 7. What's the best way we can get those? And it's going to be to go get a whip from the Abyssal Demons. This is kind of why I had to take a nap, because I was grinding these Abyssal Demons and my brain just was getting kind of fried because they're not very fun to do. They're pretty slow, and with just the Abyssal area unlocked, they can be kind of annoying. And we did go kind of dry on it. It was about a 1 in 128 chance. And I went well over 300 trying to get my whip. But not only would I be able to get a whip, which is a 200-point task, but I would also be able to upgrade it to the Tentacle Whip, or the Abyssal Tentacle, which is another 200 points because I had done the Kraken earlier to get a Kraken Tentacle for that. So this is literally 400 points up for grabs. And in addition, it would also be a pretty good weapon to take with me into the raid. Basically, the whole point of day 4 was to like clean up all the problems that I had with raids. So getting like a stronger melee weapon set up, getting Piety unlocked, getting tier 7, all of that would really open the door to cleaner and cleaner pulls and cleaner raids. That way I could really start to grind because again, I think the goal here is going to be to get that shadow. But finally, at like 307, we did get an Abyssal Whip, so I was really excited about this because it only took like an hour and a half or so to really fully grind out. But this was kind of like the last piece of the puzzle, really, to like unlock the account, because this really did get us to tier 7 once we actually got those points. All right, and I had been thinking about tier 7 for a while. It was a really hard one between all the options because they're all really powerful combat options. But eventually I decided that I wanted to do this league. Just that what I thought would be the most fun for me, what would keep me the most invested was, Soul Stealer was a really comfy setup. Weapon Master, you're of course getting tons of specs in. But I remember in Shadow Relics, the most fun I had was fighting Zora at like 1 health, doing tons of damage, taking advantage of Knife's Edge. So for me, I decided I'm not going to regret it. I'm going to go for Berserker, which gives you 0.4% damage for every missing point of health. Essentially meaning that if you're at like 0 or like at 1 health, you're going to be doing 40% more damage. And I mean, this just changes how you play leagues because now you want to be intentionally, sitting at low health, doing as much damage. And I thought that this would be a lot of fun to take into all different bosses and try to see, how much I could do while keeping myself alive, but also, risking staying at low health to kind of milk as much damage as I could from my build. And of course, how could I use this without not instantly going to the mole, which of course is, where everybody likes to, slam with Darox. And I was doing the same thing, but with a mage setup instead. And there was actually a really cool interaction here that I learned about Berserker that I hadn't really even been thinking about at the time. And that's that Berserker also lets you do your max hit at the start if your enemy is at max hit points. However, with Berserker, I can stay at 1 health and really bump up my max hit. And on top of that, because Mage has like a little delay to it, you can see I'm starting these fights off doing my max hit 3 times because I'm actually essentially loading up like 3 of my initial hit before that first projectile ever even hits the mole. So I'm not going to lie, guys. I thought the mole was going to be a problem, but this is quickly going to be one of my favorite fights. As long as I stay at range, I can like load up a crazy amount of damage onto the mole, get 3 max hits to start off every single fight, and just camp here with just protect melee, and I am literally unkillable. Oh my god, guys, Berserker changes everything. In addition, with the tier 7 relic unlocked, we also had the 16 times multiplier and the 8 times minigame multiplier, which opened up some very incredible options for actually training some of my styles, such as my prayer and my off combat, so ranged melee strength. First off, I wanted to go do some Soul Wars because I heard that Soul Wars is really, really good, and there's these mass worlds going on where you got like 3-4 minute games, you're just fighting the bosses. And you can basically do this for like a good amount of prayer experience every single day. So I kind of went here first just to, play around with it. It also gave me an insane amount of rune essence, which I was able to take to the ZMI altar to do some 1-tick rune crafting. And yeah, the experience rates here, I was getting close to 19 million an hour. I could only do this for about 5 minutes before my wrist started hurting too much. But yeah, this was absolutely insane. If you guys need rune essence, go to Soul Wars, which you all have access to. It is really, really crazy to do. But 8 times minigame points is such a game changer. There's just so much that is now up for grabs and available. Next up, it was time to do some pest control. Remember, with 8 times minigame points, 16 times the experience multiplier, this essentially means that I would be getting a 128 experience multiplier compared to what pest control would give you in the regular game by turning in your points for combat XP. So this was basically going to be how I'm going to be training my ranged. This is how I'm going to be training my melee stats. This is how I'm going to be training my prayer. Like, everything was just solved with pest control. And honestly, this was Pretty fun to do. I mean, it's pretty chill. There's not really too much you have to do. You're kind of just clicking on the portals, and you're getting pretty fast combat stats along the way. And with Kandarin unlocked, I of course have access to the nice training grounds. This is how you actually get access to piety. So while it is really boring to do with melee, you kind of have to like do this like flinch strategy unless you want to just tank it and have your stats drain. This was kind of another piece of the puzzle, which was, getting my piety up, getting my attack and strength a little bit up, just so I could actually do damage to Akka during that phase. And I'm not like, crying, begging my Dragon Scimitar to hit. Because remember, I did have a Tentacle Whip at this point, which is quite the accurate weapon. In addition, to round out the combat style, and one of the big reasons why I even wanted Escarnia to begin with was the Warriors Guild. I could actually go and get my defenders here. So I grabbed that Tentacle Whip and just started slamming out Cyclops. There's a really cool interaction here where I could actually stay at very, very low health, just camp melee the whole time. And every time I would open up a fight, that guaranteed max hit from Berserker would actually apply. So I'm getting my max hit with the whip every single time I attack because I'm getting Berserker even in my off style. So it actually sped this up quite a bit. I'm not going to lie. It really did help. I was very glad that I got Berserker before coming here because I was just getting so much more damage done. We weren't here too long. All the defenders were boosted. And at 155 Cyclops, we got our Dragon Defender, which would be a humongous upgrade to our attack so that we could actually, get hits off when we go and do Tombs of Amasket. And we were good to go. Okay, and finally, to complete our raid setup, I wanted to go ahead and just get full Void. First off, this would just make equipment swaps so much easier. I would just have basically the same gear for melee, mage, and range. I mean, I was running Mystics at the time, so Void for magic sounds perfectly fine. And then I would just have to swap my helmet and my weapons, which I thought would just make everything really, really easy. On top of that, I also could just not worry as much about, getting any kind of range gear because, I did need some range gear, did need some melee gear. So all my problems were basically solved with Void. And of course, while we're training in here, I did also use the power of Banker's Note to smuggle in a bunch of logs and a bunch of bows so I could actually train my fletching here while I was doing pest control. There's not really that much that you have to do with so many people doing so much damage. So getting a little bit of extra fletching experience in the downtime was pretty nice. Finally, just to get fully geared up and ready for tombs, I did go to the creature creation in the Tower of Life. This is where I'm going to be getting all of my red spider eggs. I had over 300 snapdragons at this point that I had actually gotten from Tombs of Amasket. It was, I'm not going to lie, it's actually the best drop I'd gotten so far was some snapdragon seeds. And I planted all of those with Farmer's Fortune, processed them all, got over 300 snapdragons. So I was like, okay, well, we need some red spider eggs. Let's go ahead and do this. I know you can do the diary to get it noted, but honestly, I was like, I just wanted to go do raids at this point because I had so much better gear. So I basically just slammed these guys for a little bit so we could get a bunch of red spider eggs. That's going to be used to make super restore potions, which are basically prayer potions. And then we'll have, our whole mini bar is restocked and we're ready to go slam some raids. Okay, and I'm not going to lie, but with Void, the runs were really, really fast. We bumped it up all the way to a 245 and it was no problem at all. I mean, we were just doing so much damage. I really felt a massive power spike. I had no trouble, even with Akka, because now I had, a Dragon Defender. I had my Tentacle Whip, the Void melee set. Things were just going really, really well. And I'm really excited to keep pumping it up, getting more and more higher invocation. And to reward a full day of work to really get everything together, I did indeed get a purple from that first raid of day 3 that in that evening. So this was, I think, my 4th Tombs of Amasket. We're looking at about a 15% chance at getting a purple. So very, very lucky here. But we did get our first purple. Unfortunately, though, it was a light bearer. So not the best. But listen, it's points. It's okay, it's gonna come in handy, and I was really excited about this, even though I'm not really going for a special attack build. Lightbearer is still really good. I don't have a lot of good rings. I had the Ring of Shadows, which you guys should definitely pick up if you have the Desert Unlocked. You just need the Desert Unlocked, that's it, and you get a free ring that has prayer bonus. It's basically like a Brimstone ring. So I was really excited about this. It was a nice little drop, nice way to start off the day. And we always like to see the purple, right? With that, we bumped up the difficulty to 280, and I was really impressed because I actually found that the light bearer would actually help us quite a bit. That second part of Wardens, that range does take quite a bit of time. So by popping an adrenaline, I could actually pull out my dragon dagger and get a lot of specs out during this time. I mean, I was just getting quite a lot of damage done to the core, which is kind of the part I was the most worried about. But I think I got 8 special attacks done, as well as 6 special attacks done in the first part. So I'm getting 14 special attacks, really getting that core nice and low to take me into the last phase, because like getting a 3 down is kind of like optimal. If I don't have a lot of melee, I kind of needed some solution to getting that warden or the core taken care of. And even at 280, I mean, the Trident was just cooking. Like, I mean, it does so much damage. We're completely boosted up to like 125 magic. It's just been so fun. I've had no issues at all. I don't even like, obviously, Shadow would be like way more damage. I still have like the Tormented bracelet. I have a cult necklace to go for. But even right now, I feel like I could very easily get this up to 300. And it's just a matter of time, a matter of, slowly building it up. And so, I was really, really happy with this. We've done 5 Tombs of Amaskets now. This one was at 33 minutes, so I was feeling really, really, really good. And honestly, I'm very excited to keep grinding some more. I even got some value out of that light bearer. And in fact, on this run, we actually got a back-to-back purple as well. So we got another purple, guys, and I was really excited about this one because obviously every time we get a purple, that's a chance of getting a shadow. And once we get the shadow, I mean, the rest of the game becomes almost trivial at that point because we're going to be doing so much damage with it. And while we didn't get a shadow, the back-to-back purple was still very good. In fact, we got the Fang, which in my opinion is the second best drop I could get here. The Fang has incredibly high accuracy, which is going to help me a lot in that Akka phase. I couldn't even equip it, by the way. I didn't even have the attack level to equip it. But, I needed some accurate weapon in order to actually fight Akka because, hitting 000 is just awful. And the Fang was actually going to be my answer here, with a Fang with a Dragon Defender. And that's good. That's all I need. I got Void to back it up. Like we have our solution to Akka now, which was really kind of my crutch and why I was so scared to push for higher invocations. Was because I didn't want to just be dodging, white orbs on Akka for like 15 minutes while my dragon like scimitar, my whip is just missing and missing and missing and missing. So with the Fang now, oh my god, we could really take this up a level. And because I started off the stream today grinding out the Abyssal Whip, and within one stream it had already been replaced by the Fang, I thought that the best send off to our friend the Abyssal Whip and the Tentacle Whip would be to go ahead and feed it to one of the Abyssal Leeches, return it back to its home in the Abyss. It did its job, it helped us out, and now we had our Abyssal Tentacle Leech ready to go. Now with the Fang, I'm just so excited because I really feel like I can really start to grind raids. I'm going to be doing, a ton of damage, and I kind of wanted to be done for the day with raids because, it is quite a bit. But there was one more thing that I felt, I was feeling on a bit of a hot streak. So why not, turn it up a bit? So yeah, we went to the Inferno. Day 4 in the evening. I was not expecting to do this. I did not have it planned, but with just the Trident in hand, I said, let's go do the Inferno. And really, it wasn't the Trident, but it was actually the entire fridge in my inventory that I was able to bring along. I had to think like 80 sharks, 50 super restores, so I could basically camp pray the entire time. I didn't have to do really any prayer flicking or anything like that. I could camp my mystics at all time. Like it was really, really fun. And in addition to that, because I was getting a max hit every single time because of Berserker, this was incredibly powerful in the Inferno. It meant that every single time I was fighting Nibblers, I would get the guaranteed hit on them, because not only do you get the guaranteed max hit when you first open up, but it's going to be a guaranteed hit, period. So I could actually open up with Blood Barrage, and it was a 100% guaranteed hit. And then every time I would fight a monster, I would also be getting guaranteed hits, at least 2, if not 3, depending on how far away I was. So with just a Trident, I mean, I was annihilating everything. I was doing an insane amount of damage, and I basically just used the Trident as well as Blood Barrage in case I needed to heal back up. But yeah, we were kind of eviscerating. Triple Jads went just fine. Luckily, I had been able to practice that just a little bit by going to do the Triple Jad challenge. I had that was a task I had actually done. Got a lot of points there, so got some of those nerves out and got familiar with what it would be like with the Shadow. But yeah, this was. I mean, everything was really really smooth up until this point. We even got to toss in a couple tactical low health to do more damage with our Berserker there. You know what I mean? I definitely did that on purpose so I could do more damage to Jad. But who's keeping track of my missed prayers anyways, right guys? And finally, the big one, Zuck. This was going to be quite a lot of fun. I knew the Trident was not super accurate here, but I really felt like, I knew how to do this. I just had to stay focused, stay moving, stay clicking. And as long as I was getting hits, the other mobs weren't really an issue. I just had to make sure that I didn't ever risk dying. Last time I had done this with like a twisted bow, so it was definitely a different experience, moving so fast, constantly getting stuck. There's also some dead zones at the sides, which make it a little bit trickier. But yeah, Inferno was a blast. I was really, really enjoying Zuck. Very stressed at this point because I'd been in there for, an hour at this point, and dying now to a one-shot would be, pretty damn bad. And everything went really, really clean, and then we started the Jad part. And I think this is probably where I started to get the most nervous, just because I had to do just constantly moving. You're constantly trying to stay focused. And on top of that, there's also just some areas that it can be a little spooky. You can see here I ran out accidentally because I was too far away. So yeah, this was definitely one of the scariest parts. You also have to make sure you're getting the healers. Your healers are doing damage. You're not missing prayers, and you're always staying behind the shield. Oh, and that time I missed a prayer, but so we got two missed prayers in this run, but we somehow just eat our way back up to full. Restock from the fridge and keep on going. Just because Jad took so much time, I decided to wait out the second set, the Ranger and the Major. And at this point, I could just basically, as long as I always did magic, I was fine. This part really spooked me out, the healers. There's a lot of clicking you got to do. And on top of that, I wanted to make sure I was able to get this done as fast as possible. I think this is by far my sloppiest phase. But for the most part, we were able to somehow get it done, even though Jad got up to over 500 health. So Jad healed quite a bit. So I was a little bit worried at this point. I am on a timer with more mobs spawning. But, by the time we got to the other cycle, we were, very topped off, very nice and healthy. The only thing that really kills me at this point is getting one shot by Zuck when I run out, for example. So, I'm doing okay here. Just got to make sure to stay healthy. And really, guys, since this is the end of the day, I figured there's no better way than to just let you guys watch the rest of the clip, enjoy it. So at this point, I'll just say thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the Inferno. We're going to keep going for more PVM, doing some more combat. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy. I did this with a TiVo, so it's so weird. Oh, I think I might be ahead of it. Am I good? Nope, I'm still fine. Come on, Trident, I need you to pump. We just gotta stay with the shield. Got 100 damage to do. Oh my god. The freaking the dead zone makes it so tricky. Come on, pump it. I'm just gonna have to do this. Oh my god. Pump it, boys. Pump it. Come on. 33 health. Yes! Oh, dude. What a freaking... What a scuffed freaking Inferno. Oh. Oh, that was so scuffed.